Hello, in this video I'm going to be showing you what branded house versus house of brands means for church communication purposes. And this is just good to know if you are a church worker and you work at church, just to know what the difference between these two. So let's begin. Alright, so this is just a simple drawing of branded house versus house of brands, just so you can understand. And so as you can see on branded house, I just put a bunch of yellow squares on mine. And you can see that they all look the same. So they all have the same branding. They don't look any different from one another. But for house of brands, you can see there's like a circle, the star, the triangle, and all these different shapes, right? So in the house of brands, you really see that there are different brands. So that's kind of the first thing you want to notice, that in a church setting, maybe your church is called Faith Church, but in a branded house, everything will be like Faith Youth, Faith Kids. But in the house of brands, it may be like Faith Church, but maybe the women ministry are called like the Esthers, or the youth ministries is called like the Soaring Youth. Something different for each ministry that is in the church. This is just an idea of what you're getting into when you're looking at a branded house versus house of brands. All right, so let's just look at it. House of brands. I put a church. I don't know if this church exists. I just made it up. It's called Silicon Baptist Church. So I just put different house of brand ideas. So again, it's Silicon Baptist Church. That's the church name. But inside of the Silicon Baptist Church, there are different church ministry names. So for example, I put Creative Youth, Little Actives, Tiny Hyperstars, Flourishing Life Groups, Deborah Warriors, Mighty Men of David, and so on. As you can see that there are different names for each ministry. It's awesome if this is something that you want to do, but what it creates is that there are just different names for different ministries. And I'm just going to show you the cons of the house of brands. And so the cons to the house of brands is that one is just not clear. So for example, if someone sees your maybe social media or on the website, they land on your page or your social media page, and you see one of these different ministries like Deborah Warriors. Well, it may not equate automatically to Silicon Baptist Church. They may think that it's something else, an entire different entity, but it's really under the organization of Silicon Baptist Church. The other one would be that visitors may feel confused or unwelcomed. And one thing is that, yeah, the visitors just may be confused about just the branding, and like, is Deborah Warriors part of the church, or are they just using that room as a rent space? So we're not really sure. And they may also just feel unwelcomed as well, because maybe it's just for a sub niche of people, maybe just only a few select people can join this group. Maybe the creative youth is only for creative people, not the entire youth. So the other one is kind of an interesting one. Someone like myself who works at a church says more work for a communication director. And so what that means is with the house of brands, sometimes that they will have all this different branding, different colors for each brand, different logos, different slogans, different everything, for each subgroup inside of the church. And so it creates actually a lot of work for the communication director. So you need to find somebody who's really good at creating different logos for each of all of these ministries, different color schemes, maybe even different websites. I mean, there are churches out there that want to make a website for each group. That's another thing. So there's a cost element to that, and you got to just create an entire branding package. The other one would be creating competition. This is an interesting one, because you normally don't think that there would be competition inside of a church. But what could happen is that if you work inside a church, there could be different competition. And I've seen this a couple of times. So for example, let's say Creative Youth, Little Actives, Tiny Hyperstars. They're pretty good. They work together because they're on the kids kind of area. But let's just say Deborah Warriors come in and they say, hey, you guys have too much attention. I need my own space. I need my own website. I need my own social media accounts. I need my own everything. It starts to create this competition amongst themselves. And maybe Deborah Warriors feels like they need more attention because maybe their ministry is not as big. And of course, like in most cases, youth and kids are mostly bigger than like the other ministries because youth and kids are probably the most popular. But it starts to create this weird competition. Like my ministry matters more than yours. That's not what it's about. It doesn't matter about the number of the competition or how many websites or social media accounts you have. Some people just have that competition space that they have. So they may become territorial. Like this is my stuff. This is my camera. This is my equipment. This is my room. Really, church should be a sharing culture. We shouldn't become territorial, but some people have that mentality as well. It creates their own marketing strategy, and this is kind of going with the creating competition, and they want to just do their own thing. Maybe they want to neglect whatever the communication director's saying, and they just want to do their own thing. I want my own website. I want my own social media. I want to do my own thing, Edwin. Don't get in the way of this. And unfortunately, I have heard these kinds of statements. All that to say, these are some cons to the house of brands. I do want to say something here. I'm not saying that you cannot do the house of brands. In the 90s, I believe that this was a thing. It's the most popular way of going about it. People love doing these house of brands because it's just fun and unique for each ministry. Nowadays, we're going to go to another idea, which is branded house, and I'm going to talk to you about that. Okay, so this is the branded house. So it's the Silicon Baptist Church. Again, same church, same everything. But I changed up the branding, and you can kind of see they all kind of look uniform. They kind of look the same. And so I put Silicon students, Silicon kids, Silicon young adults, Silicon groups, Silicon women, Silicon men, Silicon outreach, Silicon creatives. And you can do basically Silicon anything. That's really the branding. And as you can see, there's like this uniform fashion that you see versus the house of brands. As you can see, it looks all different. I mean, if Creative Youth was separated, you would never know they would be part of the Silicon Baptist Church. But for the Silicon Baptist Church, you can kind of see that Silicon students, obviously it is part of the church because just the word Silicon pops up. This is just a picture of what your church can do if you try to go to the branded house option. The question is, why branded house? Why should I do this? And one is just it's super clear to visitors. As you can see, if you go back, you can look at all the different ministries, and then you can see that it's all part of the same branding. It's all part of the same ministry. There's no questioning about it. And the brand is recognizable. I mean, this is not even a logo, but just putting the text, you can kind of see that it's all recognizable. You can see that it is part of the Silicon Baptist Church. And the brand becomes stronger over time. Now, this is an interesting statement because one thing you want to know is for the house of brands, remember I talked about the competition thing? Each ministry, maybe they're not even thinking this. They're trying to make their brand stronger, their ministry stronger. Well, for the branded house option is that the word Silicon will get stronger over time because we're going to all have similar, or if not the same logo. It might just be an S, and each ministry just has an S and the text next to it, like S students or S kids, with the logo. So the brand becomes more stronger, and also it becomes very recognizable. It's very easy to see, and nobody's going to question you on what church you're from. All right, so the other one is less work for communication director. This is a big one. Someone like myself who works with different ministries, you got to make it easy on them. So I don't have to change too many logos. I don't have to change too many colors. We all have one uniform logo, basically. So it's less work, less color schemes, less branding materials. It's not to say that Silicon kids can't have, more kiddish colors, whatever that means, maybe more orange and green and blue, more bright colors in their ministry. And it doesn't mean maybe the Silicon students want more black and more of an edgy type in their ministry. But really, it's still less work than the house of brands where you got to do a different branding for each ministry. All right. And then the other one brings a spirit of unity. And I don't want to say that the house of brands does not have the spirit of unity, but I'm just saying that the branded house could actually help a little bit more on the spirit of unity, even if you don't even think about it. Because unlike the house of brands, when you see different ministries, you kind of automatically you separate yourself from different ministries, possibly create some competition. But branded house, as you can see, we're all the same. We're all Silicon. Like that is the church itself. So Silicon students works with the kids. Silicon kids can work with the women. We are all Silicon. Like, we are one together. And so it just creates that branding, but also that unity spirit as well.